Welcome to The Critique. Today, we are reviewing a direct-address video script designed to guide viewers through an existential crisis. And honestly, we need to dive straight in. The script suffers from circular pacing that restates the problem significantly more than it explores the solution.
Yeah, absolutely. The main weakness here is that the text loops repeatedly on the symptoms of the crisis.
Right. You get the restlessness, the hollow feeling, the outgrowing of shoes, the ladder on the wrong wall.
Breathing through a straw.
Exactly. And while validating the viewer is fine, this repetition severely delays the turn or the actionable insight. The listener hears that they are unhappy in like 5 different ways before getting to any sort of what next. It becomes exhausting. So the suggestion is to condense that diagnostic section, the symptom, to just the first 20% of the piece to allow more room for the nuanced navigation phase of the crisis.
It really just needs some ruthless editing. Concretely, you could combine the breathing through a straw and swallowing sand metaphors into a single punchy description of physical recoil. And you should cut the paragraph about shoes if the latter metaphor is used later, or vice versa. You just need to select the single strongest metaphor for a wrong fit rather than stacking them on top of each other.
I actually think the latter is strong. It implies wasted time and effort, which hits that existential dread button much harder than just passively outgrowing shoes.
Agreed. So keep the latter, cut the shoes. And as another concrete example, move the forest fire concept from the very end of the script to the middle.
Oh, the forest fire. Yes. Use the fire metaphor to bridge the gap between the destruction of the old self and the germination of the new self, rather than saving it for the grand finale.
Right, because doing that gives the script actual momentum. You are walking them through the fire instead of just pointing out the smoke.
Moving to the language. The reliance on abstract spiritual language creates a barrier to genuine emotional resonance.
The real weakness here is pointing out phrases like your soul is outgrowing the container, or false frequency, and inner guidance system.
Yeah, they sound nice.
They sound profound, sure, but they are generic self-help tropes that do not anchor the listener in a specific lived reality. It just glides right off the brain.
So the suggestion here is to ground these high-concept feelings in gritty, sensory detail that depict scenes rather than just vague feelings.
Right. As a concrete example, instead of saying conversations that once energized you now drain your battery, you should describe a specific scene.
Like, you find yourself zoning out at dinner while your best friend talks about their kitchen renovation, realizing you no longer care about the paint color.
Exactly. That is a fact. False frequency is debatable, but zoning out at dinner is undeniable. Or instead of saying hobbies feel like obligations, describe a specific visual of a dust-covered guitar in the corner.
Or a half-finished manuscript that just induces guilt rather than joy. That physical object anchors the listener.
Yes. And replace your body now physically recoils with the specific sensation of the stomach tightening or the heavy feeling in the chest on a Sunday night before the work week starts.
The Sunday scaries. It moves the whole script from the ether into the gut, which makes it so much harder to dismiss.
Let us talk about tone.
The script weakens its ethos by creating an unnecessary us versus them dynamic regarding society and peers.
The weakness is the section where the narrator claims that everyone else seems fine, but half of them are faking it or haven't woken up. This dismissive tone suggests that anyone not in crisis is asleep or fake.
It comes across as superior or condescending rather than empathetic. It isolates the listener.
Right.
So the suggestion is to reframe the experience as a deeply personal divergence, rather than a judgment on others' authenticity. Focus on the protagonist's internal shift, not the external world's alleged falseness.
For a concrete example, change the line, "Those people who seem so content, half of them are faking it," to something like, "Their contentment is real for them, but it no longer fits you."
It takes the arrogance right out of it. It is much more mature.
And rewrite the section on friends calling it a phase or suggesting therapy. Instead of framing these friends as obstacles or villains, frame them as well-meaning people who simply lack the context to understand the protagonist's internal weather.
That makes the protagonist's isolation feel more tragic and less defensive. They suggest therapy because they love you, but safety is not what you need right now.
It requires more courage to walk away from good people anyway.
Let us look at the beginning. The opening hook relies too heavily on pleading rather than compelling the audience through intrigue.
The weakness is right in those opening lines. "I am politely begging you. I can't stay quiet anymore. I promise it is exactly what you need." This meta-hyping creates immediate skepticism.
Yeah, it tells the listener the content is important, rather than showing them it is important through the strength of the insight.
It signals a lack of authority. So the suggestion is to cut the preamble and the begging entirely. Start in media res with the feeling of the crisis itself. Trust the material to hold the attention without the artificial urgency.
Concretely, delete the entire first paragraph. All that, I know this might sound dramatic stuff.
Start immediately with, you have probably noticed something strange happening lately, a restlessness that won't go away.
Authority comes from accuracy, not pleading.
Exactly. So to quickly recap the main action items. 1. Streamline the narrative arc to avoid looping on symptoms. Condense the diagnosis to the first 20%.
2. Replace abstract soul language with sensory, scenic examples, like zoning out at dinner.
3. Remove the judgment of others to increase empathy. Reframe the isolation as a personal divergence.
And 4. Cut the begging intro to trust the strength of the message and start in media res.
We invite the listener to revise the script and submit it again so we can see how the forest fire metaphor can be used as a central spine for the piece.
We would love to read it.
Thanks for joining us.